Good evening, everyone, and welcome to This Week from Rockdale. And tonight is our last candidate edition. And I'm going to tell you, you fans are fantastic. I did that education roundtable last night, and we're already in less than 24 hours, over 800 views. And I'm telling you, you This Week from Rockdale fans are the best. Over 800 views from me, myself today, and Justin last night. And I thank you guys for those views. And we've got candidate coming on here tonight that wants to make a difference in Rockdale County, that wants to actually help Rockdale County through what I consider the roughest era that we've been through since who knows when. And if we don't turn this ship around, this county is in terrible, terrible danger. And the person that I think who can right this ship is getting ready to come on air and be on this show tonight. And we're going to do one last chance, one last interview so she can appeal to you, the Rockdale County voters, to do what we need to do tomorrow. JaNice, how are you doing?
Hey, I'm great, thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. We're doing good. The show, like I was telling the viewers, I thanked them so much for last night. I did that education roundtable, and we had over 800 views so far in less than 24 hours.
Wow, that's
That
exciting.
that is exciting. It just shows that people are interested in the education race and they're interested in this chair race. And
Yeah,
these
absolutely.
are the two races that impact people the most because these are the two uh, type of things that tax them, and that's what they're concerned. They're worried about their tax dollars, and so what I want to do here is I want to let you introduce yourself, tell people why you're running and why they should vote for you. So go for it.
Okay, thank you, Larry. Glad to be on the show again. I am JaNice VanNess, and I was born and raised right here in Rockdale County. And our public school system afforded me a great education, and I have wonderful memories from my childhood because of Rockdale County. So, super grateful for those experiences. And as um, once I went off to college, I went to Oxford at Emory and then Auburn and finished there and went to work in Washington, D.C. And it was super exciting. And I was able to intern for Senator Alan Dixon of Illinois and then work for Senator Hal Heflin of Alabama, who also was the head of the Judicial Committee in the Senate. And so I learned a lot, and I also got to really see up close what it looks like for a United States senator to serve the people in their district. And that was probably one of the best experiences that I could ever have when you look at serving people in the community. Both of those senators built relationships through many years of networking and visiting in their state, and they displayed great examples of knowing the issues that are critical, having open avenues for access, and making sure that they did their homework and knew what the legislation meant that was being presented. And both of those senators did a really good job of knowing the district so well that all the letters of support almost always matched exactly what their thoughts were. Once I did that, I understood that you can't make a lot of money working on the Hill in DC, and I came back and opened an early childhood program, and it just kind of blossomed, and we were able to bring that here to Rockdale County. And so, fortunately, we have 4 school locations, and that is early childhood all the way through K-12 as well. So, we've done that. And I entered this race because there was a real need and a voice, I think, for honesty and integrity. And I hope to always offer that. But most importantly, somebody that understands the job that's ahead and how we have got to reduce the amount of burden that is on homeowners and businesses, because in this economy, people cannot afford these, 20 to 45% increases, and some homes have been impacted even greater. And while the business community has been a little bit quiet in this whole arena, I think many businesses here are doing quite well, but they are so busy they haven't really looked at those valuations. But when they do, they're going to be in for quite a shock. And so my goal is to bring economic development to the greatest level that it's ever been, to make sure that we are constantly working on recruitment of top companies, to make sure that everything from our shopping centers are looking fresh and new. And by that, I mean that the aesthetic value in our community needs to increase. A lot of the trash and debris and things that bother so many people, we've got to do better. And that only comes through a partnership with the state, because they keep all of the entryways, and we have 4 exits in Rockdale. So all of those gateways are maintained by the state of Georgia. And you do have to stay on them from time to time, as I remember when I was on the county commission. But so that is one piece of the aesthetic beauty of Rockdale County. But we also have to partner with the city to make sure that that the street sweeper is regularly used, that we are cleaning up as much as possible in the community. We need to tighten up and work collaboratively in code enforcement so that our messages are the same. And then also partner with the school system, because they have the opportunity to teach children before they get out into the real world the importance of being responsible to the earth, and to make sure that we don't litter, and how we can be good stewards of things in our community. So those partnerships, I think, will help us reach our goals and get a lot closer to the community we all want to see.
I agree with you, JaNice. I would really love to see more collaboration with the city, the county, and the Board of Education. I
Correct.
don't think we've had that, and a lot of people like to talk about Rockdale County being a small community, which it is. And I
Right.
think we are such a small community that we need to take advantage of that, with the ability for these entities to really be able to connect and bond. And I'm glad to hear you
Absolutely.
say that as chairman, you would push for that. And then if things go my way tomorrow and I'm elected to the board, I will partner with you in that
Excellent.
in that venture.
Well, and one of the great things is I know all the players. So the city, the school board, I think that's an easy transition. And I think that's going to put us way ahead of the curve when we take over in January, to get these jobs accomplished and all the tasks before us. And I can work with anybody. So whoever the citizens decide to put in, post one seat, I'll be prepared to work with that person. And we have a lot of plans for transition teams and activities, especially for the Citizens Financial Oversight Committee. And then I would also like to appoint an economic development / business task force that's going to look at a variety of things, but really how we recruit and what we are recruiting to make sure it's top quality. I met in Atlanta yesterday afternoon, and there are business opportunities for us to bring some good restaurants and diversify what we have right here in Rockdale County, and possibly other businesses. So I'm excited about that and look forward to expanding those ideas.
And for that to happen, we need to look at what we need to do with infrastructure as far as water and sewer expansion. And this is what I was going to add. Now, I don't know if you paid attention to the state budget this year, but the state fund, which you know from being a state senator,
Mm-hmm.
the state funds hundreds of millions of dollars of sewer and water projects
Right.
throughout the state of Georgia every year. And I think Rockdale County needs to get in line for some of that,
Mm-hmm.
because I've not, in my 20 years of being here, I've not heard of us getting any of that. And
Right.
I think, and especially in the last 10 to 12, where I think we've really needed that expansion, we need to be able to reach out to the state. And how do you plan on handling that with grant writing or your connections and such?
So certainly, I would be able to make those connections. I do have friends throughout the state in an array of different fields. So not only would I use those, but also these task force would help significantly in making sure they can go and visit other cities that are doing the right things as far as ordinances. They're making sure that they are proactive instead of reactive. And I think that when we look at trying to do a moratorium for up to 6 months, we want to make sure that we're not excluding good businesses, but that we're making sure that the planning and zoning map is tight enough that when we need to deny something, that we have the backup and the support of, legislatively what we need to do. So that's going to come through training the planning commission at a higher level as well as the board of commissioners, and make sure that we understand what has to happen for those proper zonings and what protocol we have to have in place, so that it's consistent across the board.
So a lot of people are concerned about in the last 8 years, the amount of property that the county has purchased and taken off the tax rolls.
Yeah.
What do you intend? How do you intend to handle this situation? And what would you like to do with some of the properties that we've purchased?
So after 32 years in business and being an entrepreneur, I like to say I think outside of the box on a daily basis. So for me, I understand the whole tax digest in the platform. I've managed very large budgets, so I understand that every time we take off property off the tax digest, off the tax rolls, that means that $2 million tax has to be or valuation has to be reassessed somewhere. So if we're not bringing in new industry, and we keep having people take property off the rolls, then that's going to be shared among the other property owners and the businesses. So right now we closed on a property for off Sigmund Road, and that was over $8 million. So that property is coming off the tax rolls because now the development authority owns it. There will be no taxes generated from it. We have the Bank of America building on West Avenue and the building next door to that. So you have almost a total of $10 million, and that's just in the last couple of months. So, I think we have to do better. We have to be business minded in the approach that we're going to run the government here in Rockdale County, and go back through what our charge is really, which is balancing the budget, public safety, and making sure that our infrastructure is strong and in place, and that we have the roads, the water system, and the sewer system to support it. Now, in all fairness, our water system has been expanded by the upgrade of 2 package plants, but I still have concerns about the sewer capacity.
And I think you're right, because I've talked with people who know, and they have concerns about the sewer capacity.
Mhm.
So I think you're right to do that. And you and I both know some of the same people who served on those boards, who
Right.
actually know that system very well.
Mhm.
And I believe, JaNice, one of the first things you'll do is make that board active again, won't you?
So yeah, so we'll assess all of that, but it's not rocket science. I have no reason not to have the Water and Sewer Authority active. I think the more people you can engage in the community, I think it can be a very much a positive. Because we have a lot of talent right here in Rockdale County. We have, for the Citizens Financial Oversight Committee, we have a lot of people that are CPAs, financial analysts, people that have experience with legislation and different ordinances that can help strengthen what we're doing right here in Rockdale County. And, I really want that committee to go and see other communities and how they're operating from a fiscal standpoint, how they're planning for the future, because that strategic planning is very, very important to make sure that we're successful in the long run.
Excuse me. Well, and you're right. And it's a necessity to have a plan moving forward, because if we don't have a plan and we're just fly by night, then nothing good's going to happen.
Right.
And
Right.
so one of the things that the citizens of Rockdale County have been complained about and concerned about, and I saw one of your platform issues about it, and you stated in your platform that you would start having seminars and trainings in Rockdale County. So explain your theory behind that, JaNice.
historically, when communities have those trainings out of town, if you're going to see a specialized trainer or something like that, that would be one thing. But what we're seeing is that the county right now is going out of town like it's their own vacation, and we're paying $235 to $350 a night for our employees to stay at Chateau Alon, Peachtree City, Columbus, and the trainings are actually staff members that work for Rockdale. So, you know, I would be a much better financial steward of the dollars entrusted to us as a community, and common sense. I have that for days. So I would definitely use that when we look at problems that we want to solve, like trainings, furthering education for the public, because the public could be invited to some of those trainings. And I really think that's the point, is that they don't want citizens there. And so the way to avoid that is to go to these places that are farther away and likely residents won't travel to.
Well, you know, we invested a lot of taxpayers' dollars in the costly meal, which I personally opposed and still don't think it's a great idea. And we can actually look at how it's being utilized, and we can see it was basically a waste of taxpayers' dollars, like I said it was going to be. And
Right.
since we have that facility, that is the ideal facility to have the trainings.
Sure, we could definitely do that. But let me say, when I was on the Board of Commissioners, we did look at that property, but I really looked at it for um, trying to evaluate how we would get our money back, how it would be sustainable financially, and we couldn't make that work. And so we looked at an array of different ideas. And so now that the county paid over $2.5 million, I think, for that property, somehow they ended up with a bond, I believe, of over $9 million.
They
And so,
refinanced. They
yeah,
refinanced an
and
additional
that
loan.
math doesn't make sense to me all day long. So, you know, that's another burden that's on the back of taxpayers. So, you know, there may be a day where we get a public-private opportunity to really make that a financial generator and help the taxpayers. But I will go in and assess all of that. I think it's very important for us to, again, look at it just like any other business would operate, and make sure that we're operating in the black. So,
I think when we look at costly meal, when you look at any kind of things, you and I are both business people, right? So location and accessibility.
right,
Not a good location, terrible accessibility.
right,
So I don't know if there's much we can do with that location because of access and
right.
accessibility.
So years ago, they actually, there was a plan that was drawn up, and it just light discussion really about like an RV park there, because the equestrian facilities at the horse park really could use additional RV access. So, I mean, that's just one idea, but there's other things. It's a beautiful venue, very, very nice, but they're one another 60 something acres off the tax rolls too. So, you know, people don't realize that every time the county does something like that, that it takes more burden
Every time they do that,
off.
you and I pay a little more.
That's absolutely
That's just
right.
reality. When they take
Yeah,
something off the tax rolls, it adds
right.
to you and me.
Well, and I think like they've hosted some events out there, but you know, like they had a brunch recently, and I think that's really nice. But maybe our local businesses would like to have that business. And if we're trying to really support our small businesses here in Rockdale, I would much rather have those people in restaurants and supporting those local restaurants than I would for us to have this dedicated venue with limited opportunities for seating and things like that.
I agree with that. I think that's well put, and I think we
Yeah.
need to really look at what's the best value for our dollar, right? And
Yeah.
promoting the county.
Right. And you know, about 2008, when we went through a recession in Rockdale County, I served with Roy Middlebrooks and Jason Hill. We really had to look at the budget and make some serious decisions about how we were going to prioritize funding. And so we assessed every aspect of the budget. And I think, we all agreed that the most important thing we needed to make sure happened was that our sheriff's department was funded. And so that was a great way for us to support law enforcement, make sure we had plenty of deputies, and that we were able to support them from a safety standpoint with equipment and those kind of things. So same thing here. Our taxpayers are just terribly burdened by these taxes. I think it's time to go in and assess what is necessary, what the role of government is, and what we need to do moving forward. You'll notice our Parks and Recreation Department has quadrupled in responsibilities. And so I don't see any private organizations running any sports programs anymore, except Bethel Christian Church on the north side is doing the softball, but and maybe baseball too. But it's concerning that the government's taken on so much responsibility when we do have some really good groups out there that may be interested in running it themselves. And then we could actually advertise for them versus us taking on the responsibility of, hiring more staff to manage. So
one other large concern that's out there is the large number of vehicles that the county has in its fleet.
Yeah, I reviewed that.
JaNice, that's crazy.
Yeah.
That is, and I've looked at the Board of Education, and I've looked at, the county, and then when we look at what those add millions and millions of dollars
Sure.
to what goes on. So how would you look at that, and would you like to get the county out of the vehicle business?
Well, yeah, I think that fleet management is certainly important for several reasons. So when not only the cost of operating those vehicles, but are they going outside the county? So are these cars going to Atlanta? Are they first responders? Are they people that are necessary for emergencies? And if not, I think we need to evaluate if they're really in need of a car, and is that seen as a perk, or exactly what role does it play for those employees? Because the employees I've looked at that do have the cars are highly compensated. So, I think we need to evaluate. We do have some age in portions of our fleet. And so just making sure that we're efficient with what we're doing would be important. And then also, we're not even, talking about the aspect of insurance and the liability with the exposure of 60, I think it's 65 cars, Larry, that they have on that list. And so those 65 cars are 65 exposures for problems, right? So they get in a car wreck and the county's exposed. So,
JaNice, I think it's more than those 65. I think we actually have to look at the total amount of fleet vehicles that we have in service, and do we really need all those vehicles when we look at what they're doing? Just be real. I see a lot of vehicles running up and down the road.
yeah,
right? Just
I
being
do
real.
too.
And that's from the county and the Board of Education both, right? And I think we really need to realize that government doesn't need to be in this big of a fleet. I mean, I think small motor pools, sign in and out, really look at what we need as far as for service vehicles in some of our departments, and really streamline it, because we don't need to spend this money on vehicles like we spend like it's out of control, like
Yeah.
there is no end to the reserve.
Like an open checkbook that
There you go. You've said that before,
teenager,
haven't you?
or a debit card a teenager had. So you're right about that. And you could go to different models. You could assign cars to a department pool. So that would help in some ways. But yeah, there's so many opportunities. It's like, where do you start really assessing? But for me, putting a hiring freeze in place right off the bat for non-essential employees is definitely going to be something that happens. The moratorium for up to 6 months needs to happen so we can assess. But just know that this race will be decided tomorrow between 7 a.m. and 7 p.m. So I hope voters will get out and make sure they go to their precinct and vote. VanNess, of course. But if it goes to a runoff, then that would be June 10th through 14th. I'm an optimist, Larry.
I know. Corliss Turner asked a crazy question of you. She says, would you need an SUV, JaNice?
Yeah, I don't know. I'd feel lonely in that giant SUV. I don't know. I kind of like my Volvo. I'm good.
You're good. See, JaNice is good with the car she
Yeah,
personally owns.
yeah. I mean, I live 12 minutes from downtown. I'm good. So,
You are
but
good.
whatever, I'll be glad to be flexible. But I'm going to definitely look out for the taxpayers in this community. The heartbreaking stories of all the seniors and the single moms with, a couple kids trying to make ends meet. The people that are in apartments but dream of owning a home. They just can't even perceive that that's going to be a reality at the rate we're going. People are paying $1,500 and $1,600 a month for a 2-bedroom apartment. That's just not sustainable long term, and that's not going to elevate families in our community the way that I hope they are
I,
able to
I
do.
think JaNice went, and we went to that when we went to that one town hall and the ARC was there, they were talking about average rent in Rockdale County was pushing $2,000.
That's not what I've seen from the different apartment complexes and people that I've talked to that live there. So those numbers aren't realistic. I think Woodland Trace is on the access road is running about 1,300, 1,400 for a 2-bedroom. It's pretty nice property over there, pool and amenities. And then you have a couple more, over off Ellington.
CJ said for the new ones off of Pine Log, it's $2,500.
Yeah, there's just no way that's sustainable for young families.
I
I
mean,
just
and that's and I think when you average, right? You take that, you average
Mhm.
the 1,300. We're averaging that 1,850 to 1,900 is what we're averaging,
Yeah,
and I think
yeah.
that's where they're getting. But I'm just going to be real with you about something, JaNice. Those $1,300 places are probably places you wouldn't want somebody that you care about to live in.
No, actually, that's not there. That's a nice place, Woodland Trace. They're chamber members. They've had open houses. I've heard good reviews. So, um, Terraces of Ellington. They're running like 1,500 to 1,700. So, um, yeah, I think that those are options, though, definitely options. But here's the reality. Somebody that I know, she has a great job. She has a son. The father is not able to help raise because he was in an accident. And, she got $10,000 behind on rent. And then where do you go? And this is happening across our community. So we have a lot of these places that were supposed to be for sale that have turned into for lease. And what happens is people start out there, but then they can't sustain the amount for the lease. And
Oh
then
no.
you have situations where people are going to be homeless and they don't have anywhere to go. So unless you move east of here, you're not going to find better pricing for housing.
When
So,
Corliss just said the Vaughn townhomes are 22 to 2,800.
wow. I
I
just,
mean, these things are a lot more than you think. And then I know people who rent homes also, right?
hmm,
JaNice, you don't get anything for under $1,800 now in Rockdale
yeah,
County. So
yeah.
it's I mean, this 1,400 you're talking about is the anomaly, not the normal in
I
Rockdale.
know. Well, and if we had jobs to match those, that would be one thing. But people are leaving our county to go to work and have those jobs that are paying the rent. And so I really would like to see a higher level of recruitment for some of the firms. Like I mentioned, software firms are an ideal companies for us. I'll give you an example MailChimp, which is one of my favorite companies. They're very innovative and you can do emails through their company. They actually have their headquarters right there in Atlanta. And it's great offices. I mean, that would be an ideal recruitment for us to get a software developer. But, they have a lot of younger people that like that cool walking to everywhere, restaurants, shopping, retail, those kind of things. So I do see that we're kind of having some areas that are trending towards that, but aesthetically, we're still not where we need to be.
So let's go ahead and talk about the courthouse thing. So
Okay,
A lot of people in Rockdale County still are not happy about that, and they want
sure.
something done. They may realize that everything may not be able to be reversed, but they don't think we have to stick with the plan that's in place because it's not supposed to happen till 27, It's only 24. It will only be 6 months underway
Mhm.
before a new administration takes office. And I'm in agreement with them. I do a lot of government contracts.
Sure.
I, you know, I know people who are in land management. We've all discussed it, and we don't agree that this is a boat that's left the dock that can't be turned around. And actually, when you're elected, I want you to know that folks like us are going to be coming with alternate plans because
Sure.
we don't think that we have to continue. Now, we want something done with the courthouse, right?
Mhm.
But we just don't want to spend what we believe will be over $200 million because we don't think you can do that for 140.
So let me just clarify a couple things. So first of all, I was called by Commissioner Sherry Washington and asked to serve, and I did ask her several questions, and I decided that I would serve. I'd rather be in the football game than sitting on the sidelines. This is a very important project for the future of Rockdale County, but the courthouse is always a hard sell for the general public because most of us follow the rules of the law. We have no reason to go to the courthouse except to get a deed or to get a passport, quite honestly. So the general public doesn't have, they're not passionate about a courthouse. But the attorneys, the judges, of course, they're passionate about it. So we know that there needs to be upgraded ADA compliance and safety for the courthouse we have now. That is funded through the SPLOST committee at around $19 million. And then the expansion for the courthouse is really to accommodate, this, that we've outgrown many of the offices, like the district attorney's office. That would be one. We also, I say outsource, but what I mean is we have the magistrate judge across the street. We have a public defender's office across the street. We have a number of staff members in the district attorney's office has actually moved out, I understand, as well, because they just are too cramped in the space that they have now. So it is imperative that we move the courthouse forward. But the administrative piece is what I really feel like could have gone to Parker Road, and that property that we already own would be a good location, and we could price that opportunity. What they're doing now is they're hurrying and putting in more parks and recreation over there. I just went yesterday, and they have just put 3 pickleball courts all the way over there when they could have put them in the middle between the tennis center where there's open space. That could have happened, and that would have made a lot of sense since you have 2 brand new pickleball courts over next to the pavilion and the playground on the left side near the tennis center. But instead, they have put a workout complex over there, and next to it, another 3 pickleball courts. It doesn't even make sense why you'd put them all the way over there. But I think what they're doing is trying to make that land, go ahead, putting the skate park there and some other stuff so that it looks taken and they can't
Well,
put an administration building over there.
I'm in the construction. I got friends, and
Mhm.
we've got dozers and we've got graders. Give us 2 hours, and it won't be there anymore. I'm just saying. You know what I mean?
Oh,
That's
I do.
2 hours, and that's not. And even if that's $500,000, $750,000,
Yeah.
the 40 million you would save by not doing what they want to do in Old Town, it would be worth the sacrificing the $500,000, $750,000 over there.
Right.
And this is what we've got to look at when you've got people that are being this sneaky, and that's being sneaky. It
Mm-hmm.
really is being sneaky,
Mm-hmm.
right? And they're betting they're hedging their bet that they're going to get reelected, get back in, and then they can use that as an excuse. When JaNice, I don't think they're getting back elected. I think
Well,
that
I
ship
hope
has
you're right.
sailed.
I
I think
really
that
hope
ship
you're right.
has left the dock. Okay.
Okay.
That ship has left the dock. And these are going to be decisions, JaNice, that I'm predicting you're going to have to make.
I'm prepared for it. I'm
And
prepared.
but
And
but
let me say,
decisions you want to make though.
well, I mean,
Well, I
they're
mean,
tough decisions,
they're
and
tough,
that's
but they're decisions you don't mind making.
no. I mean, yeah, I make big decisions all the time. That doesn't scare me, but I will do due diligence, and I think that's really important. Make sure that we are assessing the infrastructure at both locations, making sure we can equalize the flow of traffic which is, you know, a big concern because it's not going to be a traditional square. The road, if it's realigned, is going to go between the Presbyterian church and the new parking garage and then come out on Millstead.
So we got a member of the SPLOST committee who's made a comment here that I think we need to read. Bill Campbell says they are using the SPLOST money to do preliminary work for the new project, not for the existing courthouse.
I did just see that, and that's a surprise to me. And again, that's how they move money. It
Well,
is
but
shocking to me.
you asked Bill Campbell if I didn't predict that was going to happen.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not so surprised, but yeah, it's unfortunate that they operate this way. But again, the people in Rockdale County have a great opportunity to hire a CEO and chairperson with experience, education, knowledge, and connections. I pray that they're wise enough to go to the polls and look at that and understand what is on the line. I think Renee Simpson might have said, vote like your house depends on it. And that's pretty true for many, many people in this community.
Well, I think you're right. I think you've got to vote this cycle like your life depends on it if you want to continue living in Rockdale County. Because I've heard, you don't know how many people, JaNice, have told me, if the election doesn't go a certain way, we're not going to have to worry about being able to raise taxes and this and that to be able to pay for this, because we're not going to have enough people left owning property in Rockdale County to pay for anything, because they're leaving. If this nonsense doesn't get stopped, JaNice, you are going to have a mass exodus of Rockdale County in the next 2 years.
Well, I'm going to be optimistic and say that people are going to go to the polls like they've never seen for a primary in Rockdale County. I am not sure of the numbers, but I think this is the best early voting they've ever seen in a primary. I could be wrong, but I think that
the numbers are all low. But I'm going to tell you some numbers.
For early voting too?
Yes, they're low. But let
Lower
me tell
than
you.
Before?
Yeah, let me tell you. Let me just give you some numbers.
Okay.
Statewide, the average turnout is 8%. Okay. Rockdale County is beating the state average by 5%. Our turnout was 13%. So Rockdale County is turning out higher than other areas because we are concerned about our community. It's a direct correlation of taxes from the Board of Commission and the Board of Education. And you've got concerned taxpayers who are coming out in a 5% greater margin than what you have in other metropolitan areas. In the metropolitan Atlanta area, Rockdale County is the highest percent, the county with the highest percent of vote in the primary. Okay. And that speaks volumes when the average is 8% and Rockdale County is 13%. So it is very low turnout statewide.
You know, we have, I think, 55,000 people left that can vote, according to what I saw earlier today.
You'd be accurate.
That is a lot of people. I know some people may not be as motivated, but they have got to get out and vote tomorrow. And they've got to vote VanNess. They've got to vote right for the school board. They've got to vote correctly for Post 1 commissioners. That race is so important. I mean, this is such a game changer for Post 1 and the chair to be new people with new vision and to really shake it up in Rockdale and, you know, correct the trajectory we're on right now.
Yeah, we are on a bad trajectory, but
yeah,
I think the Rockdale County voters have realized they need to step up and they need to vote for change. And that's what I hear this community saying every day when I talk to people. They talk about they're voting for change, JaNice, and I believe them.
Yeah. Well, I have innovative ideas for our community all day long. And one thing I want to make sure people understand is that they do have an advantage of living in Rockdale County because, you know, there's 7% tax on things. The 4% goes to the state. 1% is ESPLOS for the education. 1 is for host, which it pays for the maintenance and operations for people that have homestead exemption. And then we also have the other, which is the SPLOST, and that helps pay for capital improvements and projects everything from fire trucks to vehicles to, when I was on the board, we built the tennis center, the walking trails with matching funds with a Path Foundation. We built the library expansion, JP Car Gym, JP Car Annex, the health department, veterans office. So we did a lot of capital projects with that funding, and we're very good stewards of the dollars.
JaNice, I have not got clarification on this, and I don't know if you have either. With 861, do we get to keep the host penny and the flex penny? Because the author of the legislation wasn't even sure about that when I talked to him.
So, that's a good question. And I don't know if that's going to push us to 8% tax, if that is what would have to happen if that was the case. But, a lot of legislation is written and they don't have all the kinks worked out. So that may be something that's still in progress and we don't have definitive answers on. But I can check into it and get back to you.
Yeah, and like I said, I actually talked to one of the authors of the legislation, and I think you're right with that. I don't think they took that into account because there are 2 counties with a host,
right?
And no other county has one. So I think there's a little bit of maybe some wiggle room with that.
Right.
But let's just say worst case scenario, Rockdale County gets to have 2 penny taxes that go against ad valorem.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the flex tax all has to go for ad valorem reduction. None of it can be siphoned.
Sure. Yeah. One of the revenue losses we have in Rockdale is we have a ton of people in this community living here that do not change their tag. The law says 30 days, but I can guarantee you that I see plenty of people that have been here for a while and they drive have out of state tags. I noticed that the other day when I was at a school, and here we are at the end of the school year. And I mean, I'd probably say almost 40%. So
still have those. I got you.
Yeah, out of state tags, right?
Well, JaNice, we've had a great audience tonight. We've had a real good audience for a Monday night. Like I said, the show I did last night with me and the education candidates, we're probably pushing 900 views right now, right? So I know this show is going to do, because people are going to want to come on, listen to the ideas, and make those last minute decisions about who they're voting for. So that's why I think it's great to have you on here tonight, so people can have that one last look, right? Because voting starts, in 10 hours, right?
Yes, right around the corner. Do we have a few more minutes to talk about a couple of issues?
We do. Why don't you go ahead and talk about what you want?
So one is I just want to address economic development again. I've mentioned it a little bit, but really getting ahead of the curve and making Rockdale a shining star. We have a lot of good opportunities here with the horse park and some warehouses. And I know people don't always love warehouses, but there are some good jobs that can come with the contracts that you can bring in if you have the right people. We also have other opportunities to really develop out our retail and amenities. And so I hope that the committee that I'd like to pull together can, again, look at the different areas that we have throughout Georgia that are really doing a stellar job on retail growth and development and make that a reality here in Rockdale. When we talk about property coming off the tax rolls, Larry, with these expansions that we're doing on 138, we've lost a lot of property around that project that's coming off the tax rolls that's been taken up because of GDOT doing those expansions. So think about what we've lost on 138, what we've lost on Salem Road, and what we are going to lose with the new Courtesy Parkway.
Yep.
So when people say, "Oh, look, we're getting all this new housing, and we're going to have growth in our economic, arena," not really. Not when you look at what's just been taken off the rolls, in addition to what the county has taken off the rolls. So that's one thought. But when I talked about software companies earlier, the Harvard Review just had a great article that was published a couple years ago, and it talked about how you've really, as a community, got to partner with these with colleges, whether it's Georgia Tech, the Georgia Technical System, college system, continuing to develop the Rockdale Career Academy and making sure that we have kids ready to work in a software development company and that they are on the cusp of great innovation and have opportunities to do things like us having an incubator and hub right here in Rockdale that would lure some of the kids that are graduating from tech, or some of the entrepreneurs that we have right here in our community that really want to foster that environment and really make it a think tank in our community. Lots of opportunity there. Additionally, jobs that are related to construction. So architects, engineers, all of those things. I think we're a great location and hub with less traffic and congestion than you'd see on the north side. So I'd love for the governor to throw more projects our way through their economic development office at the state, just to equalize that traffic burden that we see on the north side that is just tremendous for commuting.
Well, and I think Charlotte just asked a really good question that actually connects with what you just said about something. Because you talked about, are we really having economic growth when we have these certain things? So then Charlotte asked, is CREDC doing the best job? And I think that segues right back to what you said about Courtesy Parkway, the apartments and this and that. Are we really utilizing this land for the best thing? So.
Well, yeah, and I would say that we have better opportunities with our land mass being so small in Rockdale County, far different than a Gwinnett or a Henry. We have to be pretty concise about what opportunities we want to seize and what we want to just pass on. And so not every project's going to be a great fit for Rockdale, but I will work diligently with the Economic Development Council to make sure that we're doing our very best, that we're ready at any time to bring guests into our community and to really sell them on the amenities we have here. And of course, a lot of the amenities that new companies are looking for are great schools that have a strong workforce development program. Can we use RCA at night to further educate our adults in the community that want to advance their education and job skills? That's a great way for people to stop the underemployment and really gain those skills that can help increase their household income levels and make those Trader Joe's look at us, some of the other nice restaurants and amenities that people want to bring here.
Yeah, and that's what we need to look at. I mean, when we look at, when we do bring townhomes and the apartments and such, we got to realize that's prime real estate. And we are a small landmass county. When you take that land and do that with it, then there may have been an opportunity that's missed because you can't go back and undo that, right?
Right. Well, and I do have a concern. Once you get all these apartments and townhomes filled, I have a real concern about how you keep people in this community when they're many times they could be one paycheck away. And I'm not limiting that to apartments and townhomes by any means, but do we have enough jobs in this community to really make that a fruitful, plan of action, I guess. But, there's so many other issues that we've got to address. A lot of this wasteful spending is a top priority for me. Making sure that our HR department continues to do a really great job on recruitment, retention, and getting the right fit for the jobs that we need filled is going to be on the top 5 for me of operating a county. I think making sure that our postings, making sure they're accurate salary ranges, so we're not wasting anybody's time, will be critical. And just bringing honesty and integrity to the county where people want to come to work and they know what they can expect. And it's great equality in the roles that we have in Rockdale County. And I know we've lost a lot of employees because they don't feel like there's an honest, fair process when there's HR issues. And so I hope to restore that. We've had too many EEOC claims and too many lawsuits and things like that have bumped our, annual insurance premiums beyond just skyrocketed. So we'll get in there and do our very best to clean up that mess. And so we're looking forward to the opportunity. I did see a question, if you don't mind, before you have a lot of warehouses, go to anywhere near the sections of 75. Oh, yeah, I absolutely understand that. All the warehouses and things like that. So, logistics is a hot area of growth, and with the port being deepened a couple years ago, that is really probably one of the hottest industries is logistics. And so Rockdale does have opportunities for companies to come here. And because of the rail spurs, that also makes us a great place for some of those companies to relocate.
Rockdale County has a lot of potential.
Yes.
We just have to be smart
Yeah.
in the things that we want to bring here and be careful about the things we want to bring here. And I agree with you.
Right, absolutely. And at the end of the day, we have to remember many of us love this whole political conversation and how we can make our community better, but the general public is out there working their jobs and they are just making ends meet. Sometimes they are busy with their kids, they're doing sports, activities, and they are like people that they feel like can make the best decision. So I'm, of course, asking for those people to go out and vote and let their voice be heard. I do not want to tax people out of their homes. I take that, responsibility very seriously, and I will continue to advocate for the taxpayers here in Rockdale County.
And I think that's what the taxpayers need, someone that is going to be their advocate.
Absolutely.
So, JaNice, why don't you take a few minutes here, tell everybody, tomorrow's the day, why they need to get out there, why they need to vote for you, and how important this is.
Well, yeah, tomorrow is the day, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. We have 16 precincts. We're working hard. We've got our signs out for tomorrow. We'll always use more volunteers on our, reaching out. We need more volunteers to wave signs, to reach voters, to make phone calls. We do have people that are shut-ins and don't go out very often, but believe me, they're calling people they know. Those things are so critically important. I do know this race is going to be very, very tight, but it would be the ultimate for Rockdale County to have this success tomorrow when the polls close, to have a clear winner. And I am just asking everybody to get out and vote VanNess. We will be over at the Whistle Post in Old Town. Linda Moulton is hosting us over there. And so we'll be either outside on the patio or inside waiting for results to come in. I hope people will come over and join us. We'll have some food and beverage, so it should be a nice time. Numbers will probably not come in till, would you guess, about 8 o'clock, Larry?
Well, she sent out a little email and gave us some predictions.
Okay.
Cynthia said by 7:15, between 7:15 and 7:30, she will have the results of mail-in ballots and early in person. So we will have the results of over 8,000 votes by 7:30 tomorrow evening. She's hoping to have everything counted by 9 p.m. tomorrow night.
Okay, that gives me butterflies. That's exciting.
And my intention is this: I'm going to be over at the Board of Elections, right?
Okay.
So at 7:15 to 7:30, as soon as I get that report in my hand, you'll be one of the people that I include in a group text I'm going to set up.
Okay.
That I will actually text you guys photos of the results.
Okay.
So you will have in-time data.
Okay.
You won't have to wait for the Secretary of State's or whatever. I will send it to you.
Excellent. Now, let me say, should we go to a runoff and we don't win out, right? I'm an optimist. We will want to make sure that we pick up our signs from main thoroughfares and things like that. So I'm also asking friends and supporters to make sure from those main thoroughfares that we get those up and respect our community, and make sure we realign for the runoff itself, which will be June 10th through 14th. And election day for that would be June 18th. So pencil that in if we need it. That will mean the people that can vote in the runoff are going to be people that chose a Democratic ballot and people that haven't voted at all. But we can take care of that if we can just push people to the polls tomorrow that are going to vote VanNess. We can do a lot of great things in this county.
And remember one thing:
Okay,
If you want to vote for JaNice VanNess, you have to pull a Democrat ballot.
that's correct.
If you want to vote for JaNice VanNess tomorrow on election day, pull a Democrat ballot.
Yes.
That,
And if you don't, you will not have a say on any of the local candidates. You won't see any of the people on that ballot. And I know for some people that's a hard pill to swallow, but I think it's a simple request given all that my family and I have sacrificed, many of the candidates have sacrificed. We just ask for your support so we can get in there and do the right thing in Rockdale and elevate the success of what we're going to do moving forward. So very excited though.
I am too. And I think the citizens of Rockdale have an excellent opportunity to elect a lot of candidates who actually will put the wants of the citizens first, and will actually have open dialogue with the citizens,
Right.
and actually not shut them down and insult them.
Right.
So I think Rockdale County citizens have really good candidates this time to vote for. They have good alternate choices, and that's
Right.
not always been the case in the past. But this year, I believe they
Right. So my cell phone is out there, and I've done that ever since I was in office back in 2006. And I've had nothing but respectful citizens to reach out, call me, and it's been great that I've been able to help and serve. One thing I want to let people know is that I will be out there at one of the polls tomorrow. And if you would like to help us wave signs or be a part of just getting the word out tomorrow, there are plenty of things to do. And my number is 770-356-7301.
Hold on one second, JaNice. Give me the 770
356
356
7301.
There you go.
Okay. And so if you see me out and about around town waving signs, I'd love for you to stop and say hi.
Guys, I think we've put it all on the line here. We've put everything out here for what we can do as candidates. Now it's up to you. It's up to you, the voters of Rockdale County, to make your decision known. So go out, vote, support the candidates that you think are going to make a difference in your life in this community. So I thank every one of you, and good night. And I will see you this coming Sunday on This Week from Rockdale. And we will talk about what happened on Tuesday and what will be happening moving forward. Thank you all, and
Thank
good
you.
night.